pilgrims and from the Camino pilgrims, of course. And I welcome you in yet again a new episode. And yeah, I have a video so I can see the lady who I met last year on the Camino when I was walking from Saint Jean Pied de Port to Santiago. So, Marisa, I'm really pleased that you are here in the podcast. We met each other last year and we had a very, whoa, experience together, at least for me. I don't know if it was for you, but for me, at least, it was really profound. And actually, your story, you told me, I tell that a lot to other pilgrims because it is actually really profound. So, Marisa, can you introduce yourself a little bit to the Camino family?
For sure. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to this podcast. It's my pleasure to be here. Well, my name is Marisa. I am 53 years old. I am Brazilian, but I live in Australia for 18 years. And yeah, this is basically that.
So that's who you are. I have just a very simple question because the Inner Camino podcast, it is all about the inner Camino, the things like magical moments, the Camino provide moments, synchronicities, revelations, insights, things you left behind. It's not about the blisters and the backpack and the nice scenery. So what do you want to share with your Camino family?
Well, the Camino was very intense for me, and it started even before the beginning, before I walk. People say usually that the Camino calls you when you should go there, and to me it was not different. I had, like 2 years ago, a very bad time in life. I was crossing the dark night of the soul. I work in my healing process, and start getting better, see life different, self-love myself, love myself more, set boundaries. And with that, I open space for people that were aligned with my journey. And in 1 month, 10 people talk about the Camino. So, okay. And I was experiencing lots of synchronicities before that. And the Camino for me, the story of the Camino started when I was 20 years old, when I saw the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela in Tourism magazine in Brazil. And I have shivers and goosebumps from all my body. And I said, one day I'm going to visit this place. And this was a dream for many, many, many years. And last year, in that month, 10 people come and talk about the Camino. So, as a good Capricorn.
Was that during a party that the 10 people were there together, or they popped up in your life one by one?
No, one by one, because as I was in my healing process, I participate of lots of retreats and women's circles. I just started aligned with different people. And these people talk about the Camino. So I miss myself now where I was.
So 10 people mentioned that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So 10 people mentioned that. And sorry, this is my first podcast. I am a little bit nervous about sharing, but anyway, let's go. So 10 people. And I am a good Capricorn, and I need to see heavy evidences to believe in something. And I talk to God or universe, whatever fits better for you. But that night, I talked to him and said, look, I think you want to go to the Camino. And if this is true, please send me tomorrow morning the last message, and I will quit my job. And I got to the Camino. And he did. So our ex-boyfriend, many years ago, like my 20s as well, he sent me a message, like a very random message, that he was moving and he remembered me. want to know how I was, and I say, okay, and I talked to him. And in the middle of the conversation, the subject was not about the Camino. Just came in my mind, say, did you do the Camino? Do you? And he said, yes, I did, and it changed my life. Well, I didn't have any doubt about what I should do. So the next day I bought my one-way ticket. I quit my job and I started selling my things in Australia, donate most of my clothes. And 2 months later, I was inside a plane going to Spain.
So
Anyway,
you really jumped in the deep. Because quitting your job and your house also. Did you left
yeah,
the house?
I have my apartment in Brazil, and in Australia I had flatmates, so it was easy
Okay.
to do this part.
To do that.
Yeah, but was a complete leap of faith, definitely.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so I did. Yeah, and I started Camino, and the interesting thing, that's the main thing that I want to share today, that everybody in that time in the Camino ended to know me, at least by name, because everybody talk about the woman of the hospital. And I will start now to tell what happened. So before the episode of the hospital, I stay overnight in Horizon, when I met lots of beautiful people, and we have that communal dinner and share experience. And in that night, I saw a lot of people on the phone and talk to the family and sharing the first day in the Camino. And I was a bit alone. I was a bit sad, and I always talked to God, and I said, I feel sad because I don't have who to share, you know? My family is kind of far from me, and with this leap of faith, I just left everything behind in Australia. And I had this feeling inside me. So this is another proof that the Camino provides. So the next day I start to walk. I went to Rosenvales. I had a small pain in my back that day, but I thought, oh, it was a long day walking, was climbing, was the weight of my backpack, and I didn't give it too much attention to that. So I slept that night, was okay. And in the morning, I woke up. I was still feeling a bit of pain, but was okay. I started to walk very early, 6 o'clock. I was on the road, and in the Camino, I think between Rosenvales and Espinal is 7 kilometers. And in the middle of that, the pain started to increase, and increase a lot. I had to stop, and there is a small hill before Espinal. And before I climbed that hill, I was pale, I was a bit dizzy, I was almost vomiting, and was not good. And I realized that was not a back pain. So I took I had all my energy that I had to walk the last 3 kilometers.
Mm-hmm.
And when I arrive in Espinal, there is a restaurant. One of the biggest there, that the majority of the pilgrims stay and stop for rest. And I was literally rolling on the floor in pain. It was very, very serious pain. And I have these people that I met in Horizon that they arrived after me. And one of the girls, Amber, she saw me and she said, what's going on? And you need a doctor, you need something. And it was a very small village. And we went to a place. It was very hard to speak with them. Amber didn't speak Spanish. I speak a little, but the pain was so intense that I couldn't even think or say anything. It took maybe 20 minutes for them to decide what to do with me. They have an ambulance there, but they could not go straight away. They need authorization, and it was complicated. So anyway, they said you need to go by taxi to the small it's not a hospital, it's just a place. There is a doctor and some medicines there. So the taxi driver took me from that place, and he went there. It was like a 10-15 minutes driving, and I was screaming inside the car. And when we arrived there, he said, just go. He took my backpack. I took the money in my hand, and he said, no, you don't need to pay. You just go and do your things there. Take care of yourself. He took my bag, left there. So from that moment, all the doctors were so nice with me. And of course, I had a very morphine, because the pain was night from 10. And the doctor straight away suspected that was kidney stone.
Yeah.
So as is a serious thing, they said that I should go to Pamplona by ambulance. So it took 1 hour from Espinal to Pamplona in the ambulance. Okay. But this is the story starts now, because when I arrived in the hospital, I stay in the emergency room. And I was kind of very happy because the medicine, just release all the pain. And I was talking to the locals and try to solve the insurance, travel insurance and all the things. And I was talking on the phone in Portuguese with my friends, just telling them that I was in the hospital, what happened. And there was a lady at my side in the other bed. She was hearing listen to the conversation, and she said, "Oh, you are Brazilian. I am Brazilian too, but I live in Spain for 20 years. This is my husband. He is Spanish. He is with me." And through all day, we support each other. And she asked me about my life, about the Camino, about my choices, and she shared with me her story. So she's still facing, because I have just talked to her 3 days ago. She's facing 7 tumors. Oh. And she was the most bright and kind person in that room, and support me all the time. And she said, it's so interesting because I've never come here in this emergency room. I have my doctor, but this morning he did some exams and he found something, and he asked me to come here straight away. And I'm here and I meet you and all this kind of thing. So we went through the day. She did some exams. I did my exams as well. And she was released from the hospital before me. And before
the same day, or was that the next day?
No, the same day. Same day. So I arrived at the hospital around 9:30 in the morning, and I left at 8:30 at night. Yeah. So she was released before me, and she came to my bed and she said, "What you gonna do? What are you going? Oh, sorry for my English because it's not my native language." So anyway, she came to me and said, "What you gonna do after the hospital tonight?" Because after all the exams, they found out that it was really a kidney stone, but was a very small one. They couldn't do anything. I didn't need surgery, just medicine and lots of water. So I would be released in that night as well. So she came and say, "Oh, I go book a hotel and wait for my friends tomorrow because the doctor said that I can walk." She said, "You come to our house tonight." I say, "What?" She said, "Yeah, I wait for you. Take a taxi. I wait for you. We have a spare room in our house. And I'm going to make you homemade dinner. I'm going to do a tea for your kidney stone. And you stay with us tonight." Say, "No, but you just left the hospital and you don't need to do that." And say, "No, I need it and I'm going to do, and you deserve that." So anyway, she left the hospital, and 1 hour later, I accepted the invitation. So I went there. I remember that I took a picture of the building. I sent to my friend and all this kind of safety, things. Because it was a two side of trust, trust of them to put a stranger in their house. And for me as well, because I don't know them. So anyway, I arrived there. And what I had there in that night, I get emotional just about to think about that.
Yeah.
Because I was treated like a family member. Everything that I asked to God and all the Son, I had in that night, all the care, all the love. And she has a small granddaughter, Valentina. She just sit in my lap and she took my face and she say all the time, te quiero mucho, like I like you a lot. So I had so much love, so much care in that house, and the food was amazing. She did the tea and I had my room. And in the next morning, we cried together. We shared lots of stories, and was beautiful. It's supposed to happen, our meeting. And the next day, she came to me. She said,
I get emotional too.
Yeah, no, it's such a beautiful thing. And she is my family, part of my family now, because we still, and you know what?
Yeah.
After I left their house, she sent me a message for a lot of days, asking me how how was the Camino, if I need something, what family does, So I'm so grateful for her. So anyway, the next day she invited me to go to the village where her uncles live. They have another house there. So I spend my day like running and play with the child and dogs and chickens and harvesting like vegetables and fruit and feeling like a family. And it's the interesting thing for me. And when I was leaving, I asked her, why did you do that? Why you invite a completely strange to come and stay in your house with a small child? And she said, because I felt in my heart. And she asked me the same. She said, why did you accept? I said, I felt in my heart too. And her husband, he's Spanish, and he's a taxi driver. And he took me to the hostel where I would wait for my friends in the next day. And I asked him, why did you do that? Why did you accept a strange? And he said, well, this is what people do.
Yeah.
I say, whoa, that just hit my heart, because I say, whoa, not everywhere in the world, not in all the places. So it was such a beautiful experience for me, and I have so much love for this lady, Yeah. So this is the main thing that happened with me in the Camino, and everybody after that, they know me about the woman that was in the hospital.
Yeah, I remember. I'm here sitting with water in my eyes, totally emotional, to be honest. And we met each other a couple of days later, I believe. I don't remember where it was. I forgot all the small towns where I was. I don't know. Anyway, we met each other. We there, and you talked about it, and I was really so touched about that what you just told. And also before we started this recording for the episode, we had a small chit chat together. And what I mentioned to you is because we live now since the 1st of April, 2026. It is now in Valoria de Rioja after Santo Domingo, between Santo Domingo and Belorado. So we arrived here, and the local people, they they welcomed us with open arms, but also with an open heart, which I never had encountered in my whole life. And it was so overwhelming. And there was not just one person who did it. There were every villager, or the main people, not all, but most of them are like that. And it is so similar, their reaction of what you encountered. And it is really,
Yeah.
actually, I say now to the pilgrims, this is normal life. And when you go home, that's daily life, which has nothing to do with normal life.
Mm,
Yeah,
exactly.
and because here you really connect on a deeper level, just because that's it.
Just because. Yeah, just
Yeah,
because.
yeah,
And it's interesting when you said that we met that day. That was another thing for me that the Camino provides, because in that morning I left Carrion de los Condes. I had like a shin split. Was very painful. My leg was super painful, and we were in the middle of the mesetas. You
yeah,
can imagine the
yeah,
pressure. So lots of
yeah,
pain. Was a very hot day. And again, I was like almost give up sitting on the on the road and wait for someone to carry me because it was terrible. And I talked to God and said, look, it's hard for me today. It's heavy. Can you send me something to cheer my spirit? Danny, took like, I don't know, 50 minutes. And behind me, I listened to a music, a song. And I know you probably met him, Ben, that had the
oh
ukulele.
yeah, Ben, yeah, yeah,
Do you know?
Ben, the guy with the ukulele. He was
Yes.
famous. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So I looked there because I have met him before, like maybe 2, 3 days ago. And I just bring a smile in my face. And he walked with me 1 kilometer until I arrived in that restaurant where we met each other.
yeah,
So it's another like the Camino provides for me. And our
yeah.
conversation was for me was very deep as well, because I don't know if you remember, well, just your story about your wife, how you met her and that you come back to Mary on the Camino, and now you were there with plans of leaving Spain was very inspiring. But the conversation about the family constellation, I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you talk about God again. And I felt God through you that morning. It was so beautiful. And I thank you for that. It was beautiful sharing.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know.
We
Yeah, the
get
thing
very
is,
emotional.
sorry?
We get
So
very emotional.
oh yeah. 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 And, when you were telling your story about the lady who took you in your home, and also just before we started this episode recording, I was telling you about what is happening here in a Camino house, and that I explained the pilgrims that this is not commercial. The idea was just simple, to give the pilgrims a home for a moment. And then I explained, like home, you do everything yourself. You can have water and tea and sandwich and orange juice. You do everything yourself. You do the dishes. And when you leave a donation, then I can do that for our pilgrims. And I end then that introduction with welcome home. And I mentioned before we hit the record button for this episode, that many people start crying when that when I say you're home. And when you were telling your story about the hospital and the lady, and that you mentioned at one point that I was home there, then I really felt, because I was wondering all the time the last couple of weeks, what is going on here? Why do people start watering up or totally break in pieces and cry and not recover for an hour, which is that small introduction. And But you were telling this now, and then I really felt it. Now I felt myself what the people feel perhaps when I do that story, and that.
Yeah.
So now I
There
really
are,
get emotional.
there are a lot of people that feel lonely.
Oh yes, yeah, yeah,
And this feeling of have a caring and love person that see them as
yes,
they are
yeah.
without
And
judgment is, yeah.
and I also told you before we started that I had a wave of inspiration, and I wrote reflection cards. Turned out to be, and then I got an impulse to compose a song or the lyrics. And the third strophe in the lyrics, it is like laughter in three languages, all meaning the same. I see you. I'm with you. You
Yeah.
can rest your name. And every time I hear that part, it's I get goosebumps. I get emotional. Yeah, and when people are listening here in a Camino house and listen to the song, it is very touching the way it how it is made. Not because I didn't make it, I just wrote the lyrics, and then that part, people really start looking at each other, seeing each other, they hug each other, and then after that song, the real conversation starts, and it
Yeah.
is all about what you just said, being seen, and
Being
also
seen.
in a way that there is no expectation how you need to be.
No.
Yeah. So if you're Australian, you don't need to be Australian. If you're Brazilian, you don't need to be Brazilian. If you're American, you don't need to be American. You just can be who you are. I have
Mm.
zero expectations for people itself. And I actually I was pounding on this for the last couple of weeks because I really started. I didn't understand what was happening, but I got the answer now. Thank you.
Yeah. The world is lacking of these interactions, heart to heart, eye to eye. And
Yeah,
yeah. And when you have these moments, it's kind of bliss and peaceful and happiness and love all together
yeah,
because
yeah.
we recognize ourselves in each other and we are all the
So,
same.
but can you imagine? So suppose an an to be pilgrim, Camino pilgrim is listening to this podcast. Perhaps they find it a very cheesy story, what we are telling here to each other, or very spiritual. The people who walk the Camino, and I know only the Camino Frances, I don't know the other ones. Yeah, so I can only speak from my experience on the Frances. I had many of these experiences. Now I have them every day, multiple times a day. It's overwhelming, positive way. So can you imagine that people then think, oh, what are these two talking? Like lifted from Earth, they are not on the globe anymore, and that kind of stuff. What would you say to a person who never walked the Camino, and when they hear talking about these stuff, how we did just now? What could you say to them?
I'm gonna tell you something. Like the year before I went to the Camino, I met a girl, and I was very aligned with her way of living values. And she talked me about the Camino, and I asked her, "How was that?" I was so excited and know from her what was her experience, and she said, "You need to live to know, because each Camino is different from each person, you know." So for me, work well this spiritual thing and synchronicity because I was connected with that. But I saw people, and I have one specific one man. He was a businessman in America. I met him, and the way that we connect was very interesting. I passed through the vineyard, I climbed a hill, and I stopped and thought for 5 minutes to look around what I was seeing. It was so beautiful. And he passed very quick, choo, 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 choo. And he stopped, like he maybe 50 meters far from me. And he looked and he stayed. And I start walk and I pass him. And he came to me and he said, thank you. I say, thank you for what? Because you made me to stop to appreciate the view. And from there, we spent 2 days walking together. He has a very beautiful story for your podcast. I'm going to tell him to talk to you because, yeah, he was a person that went to the Camino to try to talk to God, to
Okay.
have God's attention. He was a
Yeah.
businessman, so like a logical mind, and he saw with his eyes, he felt the things there. So for the people that are listening, and don't create any expectation, don't, just do yourself, just be yourself, and things gonna happen the way that needs, as again the Camino provides, and provides what you need and what you, even not what you're looking for, because sometimes we go for one reason and in the end we found out that the reason was completely different.
Oh yeah. I know
So
that one
yeah,
as well. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I listened to the last podcast, I think, with a lady, and she said that she went for one reason and she found out that she was looking for herself, for loving herself. I love that thing. This is the kind of thing that happens there. And every person do the Camino in a different way. Some people just run, they want to run, they want to challenge the body. Some people are going for tourism, but for me, the Camino is a special place on earth. I believe in energy, so I think it's high. The energy there is very high. And yeah, just be yourself. If you don't believe in what we are saying, if it doesn't, if it, these things don't resonate with you, don't just, just do it. Just go
Yeah.
and live it for yourself. This is what I would
And
say.
and, and
Live it
I
for.
I just I just realized I just went back briefly to your story.
Yeah,
You got a kidney stone. I had 2 times in my life a kidney stone.
yeah,
And also 1 week before we should go this year, we scheduled 1 week in February to look at houses to buy because the deal with the albergue, which I wanted to take over, didn't succeed. So we needed a house. And 1 week before, I got a kidney stone attack. And so, and a couple of years before that as well. So I know it hurts like hell. And this is not what you wanted, the kidney stone, but it was what you needed.
yeah. Yes. I have
And
I have
this is,
another example. Yeah, I
yeah,
have another
please,
example.
please share. Please
Another
share.
example that was not what I want, but what I need. When I arrive in Saria, I don't know
Saria?
how you say it.
Yeah, Saria,
Saria.
Saria.
I arrived there because I was 4 days with diarrhea. I have some, like, I ate something that was not good, and I was with a serious diarrhea. But I didn't stop to walk. I keep walking less kilometers, but I was walking. And in Saria, because you know how overwhelming can be for who comes in silence all the French Camino.
Yeah.
And I arrived there, I was so upset. I was so angry, so angry. I went to my hotel room. I was with this diarrhea and all that busy and noisy and people and group walking together and like speakers with music. I say, no, that's ruin my Camino. And I was part of the group in Brazil, like WhatsApp group about the Camino. And I was so angry. I said, oh, I just don't know what I'm doing here in Saria and blah, blah, blah. I was so upset. And someone said something that I never will forget. don't let the environment like control your emotions,
Yes.
you know. And I say, whoa, that's what I needed, you know.
Yeah.
So I went like I stay reflecting about what the person told me, and it's true, you know. It's what you have inside, the way that you uh, doesn't matter if there are a lot of people around you, you don't lose what you gain. In my case, like 30 days, because you are not deal with your emotions correctly, So it was a big learn. So that diarrhea and that be angry for me was not what I wanted, but definitely what I needed that moment was a big lesson for me.
Yeah.
And the next day was because I went to bed again and thought, okay, I know that I'm thinking wrong. I should control the environment. Please send me tomorrow a person that just revive all the things that I felt in the Camino. And I
Yeah.
met this person and I
Yeah.
walked with her all day.
Yeah.
And look, really, Danny, looks like someone was talking to me exactly what I need to hear in that moment. So yeah, I have
Yeah.
many,
That's
many
strange.
stories about the Camino. It
Yeah.
was incredible journey for me.
Yeah. That reminds me on one thing what left a deep impression with Carola and me. In 2014, I married in Porto Marine on the Camino, and we walked as a honeymoon from Samos to Santiago together. And so we had driven by car to Porto Marine. And after that we went back from Santiago with the bus, pick up the car, and then we drove back home to the north of Germany, where I was living at that time. And we passed the small village, the town, mountain village, O Sobrero. And O Sobrero was the place where I started 1 year before with my youngest son. He was then 13. So I said, and I really, so that place is really dear to me. That's really important. So we stopped there, and it was so busy, and we wanted to have a lunch, but there was no place and no spots free. And yeah, we were walking there, and we said in Dutch to each other, "Oh, there are no places left." And there was one table with one guy, and he answered back in Dutch, "You can sit with me if you want." So we sit with him. So we had some food. And then he started to tell things about my life. And he didn't know nothing about it. We didn't talk about it. We only said we married, we go home now. We had a small talk. He walked all the way from Amsterdam to Santiago and was on his way back. And we were sitting there for an hour or so. And he was going on and on about all kind of things out of my life where I needed to make decisions. And Carola and me, we looked while he was talking, we looked to each other for, huh? What is going on here? So at the end, we said goodbye to each other and we went back in the car, started driving back home, and we were totally silent. And after a while, Carola said, "Did you notice what happened there?" I said, "Yes." No words. Till the day of today. I have no clue why that was. I have no clue. I don't know. Yeah. And it was just that moment that exactly happens. You get what you need. And that is something, and that is also a past the Camino. This is not only on the Camino Frances. The only thing is that we start recognize it because we are more open to recognize it. Because if I tell the story to the pilgrims who enter here in the Camino house, they all ask, how did you end up here? And when I tell that story, their eyes are falling out. They pop
Yeah.
out like, what? Yeah, and to be honest, the story is really insane. It is a complete insane story, which started in 2013. And all the way, all these years, I was getting what I needed. And many times it was really not what I wanted. Not at all. Yeah. And man, and now we have so much trust in that. I don't know how people from the church will call it God or spiritual people, New Age. They call it universe, The quantum people will call it the quantum field, and I call it, I don't know what it is, but I know it is there. Yeah, and I don't believe, but I know that it is there. And there's, in the meanwhile, so much trust in it that I
Yeah,
really can now rest. I can be in not knowing. And it is really challenging many times because you don't know. Yeah,
it
like
is.
the last, it is. And but I can really be there. And then sometimes I'm really afraid because I don't know what is coming after the next step. I don't know. But there's such a deep trust in that. And people could think that I'm totally spiritual and not living on this world anymore, but it is not at all. It is so of this world, you cannot deny it. It is so in your face. But if you walk the Camino, you're more out of the way and you can see more of these things. And that is so
Yeah.
nice about this podcast because you share your story. I also share some stuff. We have that talk, and people listen to the podcast and they start to open for to see outside of the Camino in their daily life things like that as well, and that will change the life. Like the man you just mentioned who kicked off your in Australia, the next day he said, "Yeah, I walked the Camino and changed my life."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but anyway, what I also want to know, you're still on the Camino because you're still not back in Australia. So where are you
No,
now?
no. I was thinking about that when you are talking about trust and surrender, because this has been my journey since I left Australia. And first step was the Camino, and since there I still traveling. I went to Egypt and Vietnam and Nepal, and all these places were I were guided by intuition. I just listened to myself and went. And I think like when we talk about trust and surrender and just, don't control things, what happened in the Camino, in my opinion, is the Camino is a place that you get more present. And when you get more present, you go within, you go inside you. So it's when the intuition comes, when you are more connected with everything and with everybody. So I take the Camino as a meditation, a walking meditation. And if you bring this to our normal life and our busy lives, if you take a moment to sit down quiet in stillness and mindfulness in meditation, you you have the answers that you need. You always get a sense that I'm not religious, I am spiritual. And the God that I usually say that I talk to God is, in fact, I believe that this God is inside me, the divine inside me. And I think everybody has this voice, the inner voice, the inner Camino, the inner voice. So yeah, trust
Yeah.
on it and act more from the heart than through the mind.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, and not from the emotional heart, but from the
yeah,
deeper level, the big
yeah,
space.
yeah,
And because when many times when we talk about from the heart, it is also connected with elevated emotions and intense loving
mm,
emotions. And for me, it is much more like you love a child or your dog or a cat. It is the caring and acknowledge the other person in who they are and nothing more. And that's a different kind of living from the heart.
yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of unconditional love, no judgment. And yeah, we need more of this in these days.
Yeah. Yeah. I have the feeling that we talked about the things we needed to talk today. And, but before we close, is there something you really wanted to say, which you didn't say, or want to tell to the pilgrims that you think this is really important if you want to become a Camino pilgrim or the persons who already walked, the veterans, so to say? Is there something which you really, this is, you say, okay, I really need to say this?
Yeah, I think it's more about the presence, but lots of people ask me about going by yourself or go in pairs or groups, and it depends on each person. I really enjoy my Camino by myself because you are never alone. If you wanted to be with people, you have people around that are ready to talk and enjoy the walk with you. And when you need like silent moment and you need to be in your space, you have opportunities as well. I don't let the excuses stop your desire, your dream to go to the Camino. It's a beautiful place, and you're gonna find not what you want, but what you need in life. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Marissa. So this was, yeah, I was looking forward to this, to meet each other. I really,
Yeah.
really enjoyed it. And also, you gave me a big insight, what I was pounding on for the last weeks. So thank you for that. And you got me silent for a couple of times. And
Yes.
I've been told that it is not so easy to silence me up. So,
I said,
so,
oh,
and then
did I say something wrong? I don't
no, no,
know.
no, because I was so touched and deep
Yeah.
emotional that I needed to stay silent. Otherwise, I could not speak anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was so, yeah. So really, thank you a lot. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Danny, and I appreciate so much what you are doing the Camino. And we talked before. You said that there is no ego involved in that, and but it's beautiful. You touching hearts, and people touch your heart as well. It's a
Yeah.
two-way interaction. It's beautiful, and I really want have a chance to visit you in your place and feel all this. I don't know if you know, but I did 3 days volunteer when I was doing the Camino because I didn't have time to finish the Camino, and I have some I have some bad moments in the Camino that I don't want to share now, but I had a decision to go, and when I stop in this place that looks like very similar that what we were doing is a house, a private house that they do like a breakfast by donation as well, donativo. And when I arrived in that place, I felt that I should stay. And I asked to the owner of the house if I could stay with them, help them. And for 3 days, I served the pilgrims, and I know what you say, all the feeling, because when you walk, you talk with you one, two, three people, but when you are stopped in a place, people come to you. So there were days that I talked to, I don't know, 100 pilgrims,
Yeah.
different stories, different
Yeah.
emotions, and it's so intense. For me, it
Oh,
was
yeah.
so intense.
Yeah.
And I learned so much and taught me so much. So I really appreciate what you are doing because it's beautiful and the Camino is beautiful.
Yeah.
And thank
And
you.
like I mentioned before we start recording, if you walk the Camino, you have 10, 20 times that you have a very deep, impactful meeting. But now I'm here, and we estimate around 2,500 pilgrims already visit our place, 3,000 perhaps, and we started the 9th of May. And now I have every day these accountants multiple times a day with whole groups, with single persons. It is so overwhelming. There's so much non-judgment available in the world, and which feels like unconditional love and a deep connection. And that
Yeah.
I encounter here every day. And yesterday there was a man here, and he said, "Yeah, you need to make it more clear that it's donativo. It is not on the sign very well." And he was really busy with that, and I didn't understand. And then there is the thing where the drawer where people can put money in, and they can change the money themselves. I never look at it. I don't want to look at it because then my brain goes. So I never look at the whole thing, and it covers the cost. Everything is okay. And he said, "Yeah, people can steal the money there." And then I said, "Yeah, but they don't." He said, "Oh." And he was totally off guard. I said, "Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't. And perhaps they do, but I don't know." So I
Yeah.
trust that the people are here then will not do any harm. And he was totally confused because he actually was living most likely in a different world where you
Yeah.
need to guard your money and
Mm.
everybody will stealing and all that kind of stuff. And when you are in the space of non-judgment, the other person feels it like unconditional love,
Yeah.
and they never do harm to that person with no
Exactly.
judgment. Yeah.
Uh, the Camino to me feels like a bubble inside the world where everybody inside are the same. There is no nationality. There is no young and old, women, men. There is nothing. Everybody's the same. Everybody wake up, put their shoes, walking, eating,
Listening.
talking,
Yeah.
sleep.
Yeah. But you
Oh, it's
say
good.
the Camino is a bubble, and I 100% agree. And the last 4 years, we lived in Sweden, the south of Sweden. So we lived in the Sweden bubble. Before that, I lived on the border in the Netherlands to Germany. So I lived in that bubble. So wherever you live, that is the reality you experience. And 2 years ago, when I retired, then I said to Carola, you know what? In America, I have that saying: if you want to open a shop to sell shoes, for instance, there are three things important: the location, the location, and the location. Yeah, otherwise your shop will die. And I said to Carol also, that's the same for where you live, because the location determines for more than 90%, or even more than 90%, the quality of your life. So I need to
Mhm.
choose my bubble. And because that bubble doesn't mean that that is not real, because it is really real what is happening here. It is
Yeah.
real. But the only thing is that when you go back to your bubble where you live and you go back to daily life, then you think that the Camino was not real. And that I disagree with that. I say this is normal life, which you experience here, and at home it is daily life, which has nothing to do with normal life. Yeah.
Mm.
And so, yeah, so be
I
very
like that.
careful.
I
Yeah, be
like
very
that.
careful the bubble you choose to live. It is so
Yes.
important. And if it doesn't
Yes.
support you anymore, just go.
Yeah, this is
That's
what
it.
I did.
Yeah,
This is what I did.
just go. Yeah. Yeah,
I
and of
I
course it
left
has
the environment.
consequences.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it has
Exactly.
consequences. Yeah. Okay, so
I love
thank you
that.
very
You
much.
you gave the insights to me now.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Marisa,
Thank
thank
you,
you. Thank you
Danny.
very
Thank you
much.
so much.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, bye bye. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Whether you're walking the Camino right now, or preparing for it, or perhaps you are back home and maybe even suffering from PCS, the post Camino syndrome, I hope that this podcast inspires you. And if so, do not keep it to yourself. Share it. When you share this podcast, you actively help spread the skill of self-reflection. Every person who learns the skill of self-reflection begins to see people differently. You may still question what somebody does, but the judgment about their intentions start to disappear. And you are entering the realm of non-judgment. And non-judgment is experienced as unconditional love. This is how real change begins. With you, the people around you, your city, your province, your country, your continent, and eventually the world. That is why actively spreading the skill of self-reflection like an unstoppable virus is so important. So please do not just listen, but act on this call and share it with as many people and on as many platforms as you can today. For new episodes, go to www.innercaminohouse.com. Select the podcast page in the menu. There you can subscribe to the podcast notifications. You will also find a link in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and bon Camino.
Dust on my shoes, salt on my skin. Maps in my pocket, stories tucked in. Found your small door, paint cracked by the sun. You smiled and you said, "Here, the walking is done." In a Camino house, where the road sighs out, hang your pack, let your shoulders drop, let the day pour out. A plate, a chair, a listening face, nothing fancy, just a place. In a Camino house, where the miles turn into hearts. 2 mugs of tea, steam curls like a prayer. But this is just talking, breath shared in the air. You ask where I'm from, I forget what to say, so I answer instead how I felt today. In a Camino house, where the road sighs out, hang your pack, let your shoulders drop, let the day pour out. A plate, a chair, a listening face, nothing fancy, just a place. In a Camino house, where the miles turn into hearts. We pass around bread and pieces of ourselves, names in a notebook left on the shelf. Laughter in 3 languages, all meaning the same. I see you, I'm with you, you can rest your name. Oh, in a Camino house, where the road sighs out, hang your pack, let your shoulders drop, let the day pour out. A plate, a chair, a listening face, nothing fancy, just a place. In a Camino house, when we leave we're not apart. Carry it on in our steps, like a quiet extra heart.